Yeah, it's not a vortex, and just carry on these vlogs, right? So, I'm just working on this painting at the minute, and I thought I'd just reel off a bunch of thoughts about, well, the image I'm making at the minute, and just image making in general, and maybe just try and freestyle off the top of my head, like, as it would be occurring in my mind without me speaking and verbalising the thoughts, what actually goes through my mind when I'm doing a painting like this, which is basically non-representational. There's suggestions of representation imagery here, but it's nothing explicit. So it's not always what I do in my work, but I really do want to be exploring the abstract realms at the minute. I'll probably turn the music down a bit. So yeah, sorry, the music was probably a bit loud then. So I've just been working on this this is the third day of working on this painting. I'm trying to make something that's quite textured, quite layered. I guess it's something somewhere between a sort of cubist style and an expressionistic painting, I guess. Abstract and representation. So it's semi-abstract in a sense. Okay, I'll just I think I'll change the angle and just talk a bit more about it. What I'm up to. So, well, I just thought, why not, like, just talk about some of the random thoughts that have been going in my head while I've been painting this very painting. So, I was thinking, I was painting, but I think possibly due to the playlist I'm listening to, which is sort of like a remixes of classical music, which have a certain air of melancholia to them, like sort of a melancholic feeling. I was thinking about the temperament of artists, and obviously myself, but other artists as well, of course, and the bigger artists in general. And I think the temperament of artists is often melancholic. So if you know anything about, I think it comes from the Greeks actually, got their melancholic temperament, which is sort of reflective, feels things deeply, somewhat pessimistic as well. I think that is in a lot of ways the sort of archetype of, but then artists are a lot of different things. I mean, I'm thinking probably of a very certain kind of artist here, more often than not a painter. I wouldn't have thought, you wouldn't think that melancholic artists are generally conceptual. That's more like an abstract, art based on ideas. Anyway, I'll just, I'm rambling a bit there, obviously, but again, this is just what was going through my head. I was sort of feeling, I think I was getting into a certain mood because the music I listened to, like I said, and it's good to tap into that and think about. I'm just looking at this painting now, and I'm thinking, what am I trying to actually represent here? What is the point of what I'm doing? Which is a good place to be, because part of the reason I'm doing the painting I'm working on now is to do something that unexpected, like, so I'm being a bit more loose with everything, and I've not gone into this one like some of the other paintings I've done recently with a specific plan in mind, which is a good thing to do because it loosens you up. And like ultimately, at the end of the day, like if I screw this painting up completely, I can just paint over it and make another textured painting. It's not even a big deal. This is acrylic paint I'm using. It's fine. I'll show a bit of the painting and just talk about a few individual bits of it anyway now. So this is the painting as a whole. So yeah, like I said, it's got that sort of almost cubism mixed with expressionistic feeling to it, I guess. I quite like the colour palette. I've decided to use these like pinks. The composition itself is this suggestive head in the top right corner. At first I had this whole idea in mind of a sort of head in the moon, but that's changed a bit now. I do like this very sort of like, it could be a mouth, or it could be almost like a sexual organ opening or something. Or it could be anything else. It's quite minimalist and I do like it. How it fits into the overall composition. I had this idea while I was just doing it now of basically how human beings are sort of vessels trapped in time, which is an interesting thought. I'll expand on that in a minute probably, but I mean, like I said, you just have these sort of weird, vague, abstract thoughts that often will pass into your head, I find anyway, when you're painting. And there's something of structure here with the blue line, which may be built on. Possibly some parts of it need, obviously, a bit more refinement, maybe just... So this area, for example, is quite interesting. I'm going to leave that probably much as it is, with the sort of patchworky brush strokes with the pinks and the black background. Possibly tied some of that bit up a bit, but generally this is turning into a relatively interesting painting, I suppose. An unusual one, but it's not necessarily bad. This vague notion of the painting being about beings, like human beings, ourselves, and how we're trapped in our flesh and trapped in time, space, continuing. That is sort of a rough idea that's beginning to associate. I mean, look, when this is art, when this is visual art, you can't really subscribe. The whole point of basically, I think, painting is to become a creator and producer of mysterious images and icons that you don't understand yourself. You know. Obviously, especially if you're doing an art like I do, which is based heavily on dream and expression and feelings and emotions and everything, it's almost impossible to, you know, it's not like if I was a botanical artist, my job is just to represent flowers and plants as beautifully and as realistically as possible, but I'm not. I'm basically a dream painter, essentially. Just, the whole point of everything I'm doing is to retch up. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this for money, so I'm beholden to no power, you know, which is good. I'm not beholden to anybody. I don't have to do commissions for a client, or, you know, that's why being an artist and a painter is so free, because I don't have to, you know, it's my escape from the world where I have to do exactly what somebody tells me, and I definitely need that, because if I wasn't free just to explore my own creative urges, I'd go mad, quite honestly, quite literally. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the joys of being a painter, is that you're not expressing for you're not specific for a product, for a film, for whatever. Which, as interesting as those things can sometimes be, it's a whole different world. You are maybe potentially you have the idea of an audience in mind if you're painting, but it doesn't usually slip in there too much, I find, for myself anyway. I mean, I might have a sort of awareness of, well, what might people think of this, but I think if you were trapped in that mindset of, oh no, what will people think of this, then you'll never get anything new done. You have to break out of that mindset, I think, in a lot of ways. Because if you're worried about what a critical reception for a piece of painting or an artwork, then you just get stuck in the same mood and sort of safety mode, really. You know, that's fine. You know, people can earn money doing that, but in terms of your own self-development in your paintings, it might slow you down, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, for me, anyway, art's not my painting's not my career. It's my passion and my love. So it's more than a hobby, but it's funny in a sense for me, because it is more than a hobby. It's the main driving. It's the one thing I've sustained consistently through 20 years since I started doing it, really. But yeah, it's wonderful. Anyway, I'll just do a little bit of a scan of this. So the colour palette's not so unusual from the other stuff I've been doing recently. So I've been doing these green, like you can see there's a green, sort of general pattern. Can't see too well there because of the light coming through, but that's got like a sort of blue, green style. So my actual colour palette has changed to this sort of muted greeny, browny, bluey sort of palette. So that is in tandem with everything else we're doing. There's that other self-portrait there, which is not too dissimilar. Not so much black on this. I don't think I'm gonna try and keep the black to a minimum. I quite like how the it's more white lines, isn't it, really? potentially it's a bit busy in the composition. I don't know if I need to just limit some areas down a bit, but I think I'm going to leave it for a little bit now. This area here is obviously sort of like a humanoid head. I could obviously work in some eyes, but I think I want to keep that quite minimal. I want to keep it quite like an impression as opposed to explicitly painting your face. I want to leave it so it's sort of almost like a suggestive dream image that you can warp around a bit. And yeah, I quite like those pinky fleshy bits. It does almost look like a sort of vortex or violent storm of body and flesh, which is something I'm interested in my work for sure. This is quite cool, this dry brush blue. Maybe need a bit of definition there. Yeah, anyway. There's some graffiti, which I love doing, just scratching into the surface of a paint. Yeah. Okay, I think that'll probably do. I'll just say, if you have any thoughts about anything I've spoken about in this video, leave them below, comments. If you like art, obviously subscribe to this channel. If you wanna, this channel's going to be my vlog for painting philosophy. You know the drill. I mean, if you're already a subscriber, just ignore this. But I'm going to do a lot more art vlogs, just documenting life in the studio. And if that sounds interesting, then like and subscribe. So anyway, you're going to see them. They don't get pushed in front of many people, so if you share them if you can. If you find the content interesting, anyway, if you're a painter or an artist. Hope that's been interesting. You know, Vortex, aka Chris Godber. Oh, my website is chrisgodber.co.uk if you want to look at my artwork as well, by the way. In a bit.